Hi everyone, it's Jen again. This week I have a bunch of wallpapers that I was working on to add to the Gotcha Date update while I implemented a bunch of copy edits that were so graciously and meticulously given to me. This first illustration, I thought I was going to redraw a wallpaper that I had done of Katner like over a year ago, and then I just ended up completely going in a different direction because the expression just kind of came to me and I just kind of followed it. Usually I don't find it that interesting to kind of like recreate or redo things that I've already done in the past. I just like kind of exploring like whatever comes to mind, whatever I have an inclination to do. That said, I wanted to talk a little bit more about my drawing history and my approach to drawing, but I wanted to make sure that I preface by saying I don't believe that there's like a right way or a wrong way to like approach art. I don't think that art should be like gate kept with like I don't know, this tool or this technique or this discipline. This training should be like more legitimized than this other type. Like however you come to doing your art, I don't really have an opinion on it. I don't really think that's my business, as long as people are transparent and they're not like, I don't know, lying about like how they do things and like stealing other people's work. Like I really don't have an issue with however people want to approach their art, because I just think it's very personal. So this isn't a prescription for like you should do things this way or that way. This is just me kind of like explaining like how I do things and why I do things, and if you find that interesting or helpful or something that you want to try doing, then I hope that you would have like fun with it. So I'm old, let me start out by saying that. When I was growing up, it was before the age of, honestly, like when I was like really little and started drawing, when I was just a kid, that was before the internet. That was before you could Google search for things. So when people used to say things like I guess use reference, it was really because like the majority of people, or majority of kids, the majority of people I knew did not use reference, because you couldn't just look something up. Like if I wanted to use a reference of like elephants, like I couldn't just turn on any screen and like search for elephants. Like probably elephants would only be on TV, like just randomly if I happened to catch it. Like maybe I might see them on TV like once a year or once every couple years, and you had to go to the library and like check out a book on elephants, and like it was a lot of like extra effort to like reference something. So a lot of times people did just kind of like draw from their imagination, however shaky that was, of like their recollection of what these things look like. The other thing was that when I was growing up, people didn't usually trace, at least in like my group of like friends and things, because again, like we weren't using screens, so there was like trying to trace something would like require special paper, like tracing paper, or it would require like special equipment like a light box or something, and we didn't have those things growing up. So a lot of what we drew was just from imagination or from observation. And a lot of it was like really bad for like a really long time. But we weren't really conscientious of that because there wasn't like the internet with social media and platforms for like sharing artwork. Like you just had like your group of people in your life to see your artwork, like your friends and family and maybe a mentor or something, and in your local community, like at school or something. And so you didn't know what like other artists were doing around the world. You didn't really have that comparison, and so there was a lot of positive reinforcement for even like drawings that looked like pretty bad. Just the fact that you were even drawing anything and somebody could tell what it was, that was like, oh, you're an artist. And there wasn't any like there wasn't a lot of scrutiny of like, you did this wrong, or that has bad anatomy, or this is like weak rendering, or like the light source on this is like not accurate, or like there wasn't all these like really high level like critiques or anything. So when I was growing up and drawing my own cartoons and stuff, it started out with me just looking at Sunday papers, where they used to have like the funnies, little cartoons like Garfield and Calvin and Hobbes and stuff. And so when I first started drawing, I kind of adopted that sort of format of like drawing these little panels of like these little characters, and they were loosely based on things that I might have seen. Like it had a very heavy Disney and Looney Tunes, because like Looney Tunes was on TV quite a bit. Had a lot of like that style of like anthropomorph characters, but they didn't really look like a particular Looney Tune character, because again, like I didn't really have the reference to see it in front of my face, so it was just kind of like based loosely on like what my memory of like watching these cartoons, the impression that I would get of like watching these cartoons or movies, and then I would just kind of create my own characters and my own little I don't know, short scenarios for them. And then I got introduced to like JRPGs around when I was in middle school. And this is also another funny story, because back in those days, the cover art used to not match the in-game art. So like when games like the original like Breath of Fire or like Final Fantasy games were like released, when they were localized in the United States, they had like completely different cover art that didn't look like anime at all. And then I would like play the game and I would see like this anime style, and I didn't know that's what it was, but I really liked that style. And so again, I was just trying to draw from like memory of like playing the game, because I didn't even have like box art I could look at to like capture this idea of like this anime style. I just remember seeing like these big eyes and like colorful hair and like simple but like detailed, like very focused, detailed and character design that was like very prevalent in like the 1990s kind of like aesthetic of anime. So that was some of my like earliest influences, and I think they were like, because I was more impressionable then, I think they're still like the influences that are sort of like the strongest with me. I think my style has a little bit more of like a shonen anime quality to it than it does like, I guess, a more like effeminate shoujo like girl focus artwork. Even though like I make games that are like more girl focused, I think my artwork doesn't really necessarily reflect that. Like it definitely has some like influence of it, but I think as far as like the line quality and like the type of character designs and the things that I like to focus on, tends to have a little bit more of like a for lack of better words, like things that would be more an action based type stories than they would like romance kind of stories. I don't know if that makes any sense. But the things that always influenced me were like the idea of like, were the ideas. Oh, that's what I'm trying to say, is because I didn't really have, I guess, like still references to look at most of the time. I really was chasing this like idea of something, like this memory of something, more than I was like trying to draw something accurately. I never was good at, or never had an interest in like drawing things like still lifes or like portraits or like photorealism and stuff. Like I never really had much of an interest in that. I always was just like impressed by things that I would like have in my brain. They would make an impression in my mind, and then I would be influenced by that more so than like looking and staring and studying at any one thing. It was more just like my interpretation of like an idea that I would just sort of hold on to. So when I draw, my focus is really not on accuracy or technicality in the sense of, I guess, being completely 100% anatomically correct. I do have some more classical training as far as like drawing from still life and drawing from models. I did go to art school for animation, so a lot of that figure drawing and animation principles, I think, are sort of in my work as far as like the 12 principles of animation, like kind of the more golden age of animation, like classical techniques. Although oftentimes I use such limited frame rates that it's not always so apparent that I'm implementing all of the principles. I kind of pick and choose what I use just based on my resources and the time that I'm willing to invest, which is another thing that I know is I guess both, like, I've thought of both as a weakness and a strength in my art, is that I don't really get terribly attached to like one piece. I'm not the type of artist who spends days working on an illustration, even if it's supposed to be like these wallpapers, like something meant to be looked at for more than like a millisecond. I still don't really have like the patience to spend more than like a few hours on any one idea. I feel like if I capture the essence of the expression, then I'm good. I'm done. So when I talk about expressions too, I think sometimes people might interpret that as like being the facial expressions, but maybe due again to like my training and this idea of just like having ideas of things. Like there's this, I don't even know how to describe it necessarily. Like there's just kind of like this energy, this concept level of expression, and I don't want to just like limit it to emotion, because I think that's too. I think that the ideas can be larger and more nuanced than just saying like some character's emotion. Whatever their expression entails, for me, would entail like their entire body language. It should not be just focused on like the face. And so I don't really enjoy drawing like just like portraits or the facial expression, like sprite art. The card art is just kind of like whatever. It's just something to check off my list of things to do. But I really enjoy being able to express the character through like full body, which is usually not as compositionally interesting when it comes to these horizontal compositions. So that's one thing that I sort of struggle with working in this medium and working on the screen resolution medium, as opposed to like when I used to work on comics. I used to have more freedom to kind of panel arrange in different ways and have more vertical compositions where the characters could take up space a little bit more naturally with just their body posing, versus like, because my characters are so, I guess, elongated, like they have long slender limbs and stuff, it's a bit more difficult for me to like fill up vertical space in an interesting way. So you can see in like a lot of these illustrations, I have a use of a lot of like fabric, their costumes, and we'll use them kind of reaching with their limbs or their weapons, and that will help kind of like take up some of that horizontal space in a more interesting way, so that it's not like just this this upper body shot of this character taking up like less than, you know, a quarter of the screen or something. Just little things that I guess come to mind when I'm trying to create the poses and the ideas for the characters. And of course, encompassing in their expression, I want to showcase their personalities. Maybe because I'm also a visual artist first and foremost before I would consider myself like a writer or a programmer or anything like that. I see drawing the characters as maybe my strongest hand for being able to tell the viewer, the player, what this character is all about. And I've talked about this before in a previous video too, about like why I love fighting games and fighting game animation so much is because like so much of the character's personality and their story is told through like the sprite animations and the level of connection that the players can get with their chosen fighter is really, I think, a remarkable just like testament to like visual language and the interactivity of like games and player input. Like I think it's really, I think there should be like psychological studies done on it. Fighting games in particular, like it has its own like culture. It's so fascinating, and as an animator, as somebody who just loves animation and loves characters, like it just encompasses so much that I could just study it. I could just study it for the rest of my life, I think, if I didn't have like all these other interests to do, if I let myself go down that rabbit hole. Well, anyways, I'm going off completely off topic, but that's sort of my main focus when I'm drawing. And I think also, again, because I come from these traditional roots of like drawing traditionally, not using a lot of reference unless absolutely necessary, not erasing. So I tend to have this way of working in digital art for the longest time, right up to getting an iPad Pro like 5 years ago. I did not ink. I did not do my drawings digitally. I inked everything by hand, and then I would scan in the drawings, and then I would add colors and flats and stuff in Photoshop. And it wasn't until I got an Apple Pencil that I was finally able to feel comfortable enough to sort of make that transition to fully digital. But my approach to line work is still very like traditional based. I don't really zoom in to do fine details. I stick to a very standard brush. I pretty much just use like a chunky round brush for like everything, both for like colors and for line work. It's just that like default round brush with some pressure sensitivity so that there is some natural line weight that is reflected by the speed and pressure of my hand, and I needed to have the Apple Pencil in order to capture that digitally. So when I'm inking, I pretty much, unless I'm just deciding that my concept was like bad from like the very initial sketch and I might just like erase the whole thing, I usually don't spend a whole lot of time going in and erasing like little details. I'll usually just make some pretty thick lines to sort of express the idea that sort of almost like a sculpture, gradually get more refined as I maybe do another pass on top of it, where I'm like, okay, here's my rough sketch, and it's really, really rough. And I'm going to lower the opacity, and then I'm just going to draw on top of that, and I'm going to try to like rein in these crazy lines a little bit. these big, huge, chunky lines. I'm gonna like chip away at it and make it a little bit more refined, make some more. I'm gonna commit to a narrower set of options when it comes to like where this line is, and then I'll just like draw that line. And you can sort of see it more when I'm doing like longer lines in like the hair or some of the fabric that's like a long curved line. If it doesn't turn, if I don't follow the sketch, or I'm not happy with like the flow of that line, I'll just undo the entire line and I'll start over until I get like the line to capture the speed and weight that I want it to have. I don't really go in and do anything precise to like a pixel level. I sort of try to at least get my flats to be solid, which is why you'll see me change like the background color to some kind of mid-tone, highly saturated color to try to make sure that at least my solids, or my character flats are not like having a bunch of like gaping holes around the lines. But even that I'm not super terribly precise or accurate with, because you know, I used to sort of just like downplay myself and say, oh, well, it's just because I'm lazy or like whatever. But like it really is something to do with my attention span, that I'm highly motivated to get an idea and expression out, and then once I've had that expression out, I'm just done with it. Like I don't want to go in and refine it. I don't want to go in and make it like super detailed. I don't want to, I guess, waste any more of my energy on that expression. Like, oh, the expression's done, like time to move on. And to be honest, like I have sketchbooks that I've made in the past that would have like full colored images in them of like marker artwork that I would do, and I threw them all out because, not because I was trying to make a statement or like trying to become zen or anything. It was like literally just because I didn't care, and I was moving and I had too much stuff. And I don't become attached to my artwork really in that way. I think I've mentioned this in the past too, that like if I were to lose any part of my project, like I would not care so much if it was like the art and I had to redo all like the art. I'd be like, okay, there's an opportunity to like try to make it better, I guess, because it's, again, it's sort of transient in my mind. And it's funny that I use that word because of like the context of like the game that I'm making and stuff, but it really is just like a passing inspiration when I draw, just like in the moment of like very like focused intent, and then when I'm done and I move on, and I don't really look back too much at like what I've made. I don't become very attached to it, so like I don't tend to like print out my artwork. I don't tend to memorialize it in any way. Like it serves a function in like the context of like delivering my story, and then like in the case of like my comics and stuff that I've made in the past, I don't really go back and reread or look at my comics. Like it was just something that I needed to get out at the time, and then it got out, and then I was done. So so yeah, I mean, I don't, again, I'm not really going into like a lot of like any of like the technical aspects about like my approach, because I think that the mindset is so much more important than like how you get there. Like, to have something that you acknowledge is like what you want. Because for a long time I was looking for affirmation and I wasn't sure of like what I wanted, and I would maybe compare myself to other people and think, oh, like my artwork was inferior to like this aspect or that aspect, and I don't really think about that stuff anymore because I'm more focused on like what brings me joy. What do I like doing? And I'm less ashamed about just sort of like indulging and embracing the things that like make my art and my style like mine. And I just kind of own it more. And there's no way that I would be this far in like my development and any of my projects, like I would not be a fraction of like how much I've created if I had a different approach. Like the fact that I draw mostly from my imagination, the fact that I focus on overall expression instead of like detail, the fact that I have all kinds of like corner cutting choices that I make in my designs and my compositions in order to basically get my idea out in the amount of focused attention that I'm willing to give any one expression that will hold my interest. All those things contribute to me having like a pretty fast workflow, and if I didn't have all those experiences in my life leading up to this point, my art wouldn't be what it is, and maybe I would be doing something completely different because just the type of art I would create would steer me into a different direction. And I think that, you know, I understand people wanting to improve their craft, to make giant strides in their work, to be able to see and have the affirmation of others that, you know, oh, this is impressive, or this is great, or getting the likes and all that kind of stuff. But I think something is lost in sort of not in how much information there is out there of like people trying to prescribe doing something a certain way, that like I just want to be a counter voice to say, do it your way. The most important thing for you as an artist, especially if you're like still coming into your own, still trying to figure yourself out, is to just do it in a way that's fun, that you do it a lot, and you'll get there. If you just keep on doing something a lot, like every day, and you enjoy it and you want to make roads to improve, you will get better at it, and you don't have to worry about it. You can just enjoy yourself. Okay. I think that's all I've got to say right now. I think I had other things that I was going all over the place with, but that's the main message that I want to get across, so I'm going to leave it at there. Take care. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to enjoy the process.